Let's talk about the BBC's comedy graveyard, sir. A rich, eclectic mix of brilliance and baffling decisions. See, the BBC has always prided itself on quality over quantity. They don't drag things out. Most sitcoms last 6, maybe 8 episodes a series, 2 or 3 series total, and then they vanish into the ether like someone forgot to hit save on the final draft. The library is massive, the output legendary, but the conclusions often non-existent. There's no grand finale, no swan song, no closure. It's like they stopped showing up to work halfway through a punchline. Take The Young Ones, for example. Chaotic, punk-infused, fourth wall-breaking madness that lasted 2 series and then quite literally ended with the cast driving a double-decker bus off a cliff. That was it. No redemption arc, no future, just death and destruction in true anarchic fashion, brilliant or bottom. Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson's deranged sequel of sorts, where the final episode had them executed for attempting to blackmail the Prime Minister with an incriminating photo. That's how you go out, bloodied, battered, and still cracking jokes on the way to the noose, but so many others, it's just fade out. No final joke, no resolution. Gimme, 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 chef, hyperdrive, my hero, the thin blue line. Some had promise, others didn't, but nearly all suffered from the same fate. Nobody knew how or when to stop, whether it was because the cast left, the writers gave up, or the BBC execs just wanted the time slot for another period drama about emotionally repressed aristocrats. It's hard not to feel like we, the viewers, got stood up on a date with closure. But among this sea of sudden stops and cliffhanger corpses, some shows managed the impossible. To start ridiculous, get even more ridiculous, and still land on their feet. Which brings us to Welcome to the Snakepit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Damon, and today I'm talking about a BBC sitcom that not only managed to run for years, but gave us laughs, closure, and more innuendos than a carry-on film marathon. It's time to say good morning to Allo Allo, set during World War II. You know, that fun, wacky time full of Nazis, executions, and national resistance movements. Allo Allo somehow turned occupation into slapstick. The plot, if you can even call it that, centers on René Artois, a cafe owner in a small French town overrun by Nazis, resistance fighters, Gestapo agents, and a handful of stranded British airmen. He's cheating on his wife with every waitress in a 30-mile radius, hiding stolen art for the Germans, avoiding execution on a weekly basis, and dodging more absurd schemes than Wile E. Coyote. And that's just Monday. On paper, it shouldn't have worked. Making light of one of history's darkest times seems like a surefire way to get cancelled in both senses of the word. But Allo Allo had a secret weapon, its absolute unapologetic absurdity. The Germans were lovable idiots, the resistance were theatre rejects, the British airmen were dim-witted mascots, and the language barrier, that became comedy gold, with British characters speaking English badly to pretend they were speaking French. While the French and Germans also spoke English, but with absurd accents. It was nonsense, brilliant, glorious nonsense. Officer Crabtree, the undercover British agent posing as a French policeman, might be one of the best comedic characters to ever grace television. His mangled English, "I was just pissing by the door when I heard 2 shats," had teenagers snorting into their cereal bowls. His entire character is a joke built on phonetic chaos, and it never stopped being funny. Let's not forget the infamous Fallen Madonna with the big boobies. A painting that changed hands, got forged, hidden in sausages, and nearly always ended up either blown up, lost, or inexplicably found again. It became a symbol for how hilariously convoluted this show could get. One MacGuffin, dozens of factions, and nothing ever went to plan. Each side, the French resistance, the Germans, and the Gestapo, had their own schemes, plots, betrayals, and counterplots, all of which constantly collided in René's cafe. And who had to keep it all spinning? Our long-suffering, philandering, slightly cowardly cafe owner. Every episode was basically a masterclass in how to juggle absolute chaos while wearing a fake moustache. And for once in British comedy history, it actually ended. After 9 series, yes 9, Allo Allo didn't just get quietly canned or forgotten, it had a conclusion. A finale, the end of an era, which is a miracle in and of itself. That's not to say it was perfect all the way through. By the time Series 4 rolled around, key cast members were gone and the replacements never quite hit the same notes. Francesca Gonshaw, Maria, left. Sam Kelly, Captain Gearing, was replaced, and the later seasons had to bring in new blood. Mimi, Bertarelli, von Smallhausen, who, let's be honest, were serviceable at best, downright annoying at worst. Sue Hodge, as Mimi, felt like someone trying to be Maria, but ended up being a pantomime sidekick. But even when it faltered, it still kept trying. It still delivered laughs, and unlike so many other BBC shows, it respected the idea of closure. We got to say goodbye to Renee, Edith, Yvette, Michelle, Helga, Herr Flick, von Strohm, and all the rest. Not with a bang, but with a knowingly silly wink to camera. And it's bittersweet now, knowing most of the original cast are gone. Gordon Kay, Carmen Silvera, Rose Hill, Richard Marner, Sam Kelly, Jack Haig, and more. They left behind a legacy of laughter. No reboot will capture the same magic. No remake will get away with the same jokes. It was lightning in a bottle, and it stayed mostly intact, longer than it had any right to. In a world where comedy often fears offending anyone, Allo Allo somehow poked fun at everyone. Germans, French, Brits, resistance fighters, Nazis, and even the viewers, and got away with it because it was just that absurd. So there you have it, a show that gave us closure, laughs and jokes about sausages, secret radios, and men fancying ugly cafe owners. It might not be politically correct today, but it still holds up, at least in spirit, and unlike so many others, it had the guts to finish what it started. Thanks for dropping by the Snakepit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.